Welcome. My name is Candace Sanderson, and thank you for joining me. I have been channeling for over 10 years, and when my messengers tap me on the shoulder, I listen. That is how this episode began. I was reading a Monroe Group post in WhatsApp on Sunday morning. There are a couple hundred people in this group, all who have attended in-person or online programs at Monroe Institute, that world-famous Institute for Consciousness Expansion. That is the common thread of this group. It is our love for Monroe Institute that brings us together. Those who follow me know how significant the Institute is to me. That is where I receive my training wheels to explore the world of the non-physical. The WhatsApp group is headed by Dan Erickson, a friend and fellow explorer of consciousness. While offering an exercise in remote viewing for the group, Dan posted something that touched my heart and brought cold chills. I know that when chills rack my body, the information I'm receiving is important and I need to share it. You see, these cold chills have always been a major indicator for me to pay attention, so I do. Again, it's that guidance system tapping me on the shoulder. Dan's post was about an upcoming exercise on remote viewing. That's a process where we gather information about an unknown or distant subject using our Spidey senses. Dan says remote viewing is a way to attract the ineffable. And how do we do this? We engage this ability through a moment of silence. And within that moment, we receive an inspiration. Think of that word, inspiration, in spirit. Dan goes on to say that this inspiration exists before we form words, before we form impressions, before we have a vision or an understanding of the target that we're going to remotely view. This makes so much sense to me, knowing what I know thanks to my messengers. Because when we step outside of the 3D, we connect with a field of energy that has no time. So that inspiration we connect with through this moment of silence that Dan references is when we make that transition to the non-physical, where there is no such thing as past or future. It all happens at once. When we enter those non-physical realms, we tap into the inspiration, the stuff that is in spirit. We interpret that it happens in the current moment because, after all, we receive it now in that current moment. But in actuality, we tap into the knowledge that has always been there and will always be there. I remember my first time connecting with this divine stream of consciousness. It felt like it just happened. That's how it works in the 3D. Someone says something and we hear it because, after all, they just said it. But in the world of the non-physical, what I call the 5D, it appears new because we have just tuned into it. And what is it that we tune into? An ongoing, never-ending, and never beginning stream of wisdom from a source that is too complex for my brain to even begin to comprehend it, much less explain it. That's why Dan says to hold this idea, the event we're going to remote view, in its formless state and allowing it to exist independent of analytical awareness. Think of that. He is so on target with his instructions. Because when we start to analyze what we receive in the 5D, what are we doing? We are engaging the 3D brain. That's understandable because, after all, that's what we know. It is how we operate in the 3D. We have a problem and then we analyze the pros and cons to come up with the best way to solve the issue. But with remote viewing or connecting with guidance, analyzing takes us back to our 3D selves. We don't want to go there. So by, quote, holding the idea in its formless state, we are stopping that natural process to return to what we know, our brains. Instead, we maintain a balance, trying out this new and often strange environment where we let our hearts, not our brains, do the work for us. Dan continues, saying that this state attracts inspirational energy that is within and outside the physical being. We should hold our presence, being still like water, being invisible while we acknowledge a new presence. So, what is it we need to do? We observe objectively. And that is where we find answers. Again, Dan is spot on. No judgment, neither fear nor awe. If we become that quiet, still, objective observer, we watch, we observe. We do not let our 3D ego interfere by judging. For me, it's like learning how to tread water. With your first try, you might go underwater a bit, but soon you relax into the rhythm. You find a balance, and then your body takes over. You no longer need to tell your limbs how to move. They move naturally, keeping you floating, balanced at the top of the water. That is key, the balance in this new dimensional space. You feel it. Every cell of your being vibrates. And these vibrations are on high alert. They're seeking a match. It is the silence and the deep breaths that allow us to sink into this invisible rhythm of this new dimensional space. These vibrations dance to a rhythm of a divine life. You take another deep breath and something mysterious and wonderful happens. You sense it, a presence. Is this your guide? Is this the key to the subject for remote viewing? Perhaps this is an angel. Your heart's rhythm falls into an even closer coherence, and every cell in your body feels it. Harmony, unity. You experience oneness, and you look up. Yes, there is a presence, and that presence is you, the true you, your true nature. With this realization, my tears always flow. It's one of those been there, done that moments, and my memories of it rush back to me like a tsunami. It is in that moment when you know that your life is changing forever. You truly know. You don't think, you don't judge. You know that you are so much more than your physical body. Everything changes. Everything is different. Your perspective widens as puzzle pieces come together to form the completed mosaic. You begin to see the fuller picture. As I read Dan's instructions, I realized he was talking about so much more than just remote viewing. He was giving us instructions of stepping outside the physical body. These words describe that melding with who you thought you were, with what you are. So, what are you exactly? You are, period. You exist, period. Regardless of where you are, we realize that wherever you go, there you are. You with a capital Y. You are that first breath a newborn baby takes. You are that spark of joy while watching a starlit night. You are unimaginable. You are all that is. And when we experience these expansive states of awareness, whether they occur during remote viewing, a deep meditation, an out of body experience, a lucid dream, we are the unimaginable. We slip into a field of awareness, and perhaps for the first time, we become aware of our own immortality. We are everything that is good in this world. We are the power of love. We are, as Dan says, the ones who will raise all out of darkness. I give my thanks to Dan for his wisdom in leading us farther into that world of the non-physical and closer to our true selves. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember the importance of kindness. Allow these higher vibrational frequencies to guide your life 1 nanosecond at a time. Thank you for sharing, subscribing, commenting, and for just being you. Until next time.